think we've got a bit of time, so I kind of want to get a little bit deeper into the senior client manager, assistant client manager difference here and some of the challenges with that. This is pretty applicable if you're a small one-team firm. You'd still be looking to expand and you'd still be looking to hire at least an assistant client manager. And if you're in a bigger firm, you're definitely going to be looking at assistant client managers. What are some of the challenges that that Ed and Jamie, both, I'd like to hear both of you on this one. What are some of the challenges that you've faced with carving out a client portfolio of C&Ds for the client manager? For instance, I'm going through this process myself in my own firm, and I sometimes see a reluctance on part of the client manager to let go of fees, even though it's staying in the same base. And so I'm curious if you guys have experienced that yourself within the team. How important is buy-in from the senior client manager? And another question I kind of have is, do the senior client manager and assistant client manager, do they work closely at all together? Is there any training in that way as well? We looked at how they relate to the production manager, but yeah, what are the challenges with carving out an assistant client manager role in the team, and what's the relationship between the two client managers?
Perhaps I go first, and then Ed can comment, or even Thomas or Mick.
Yep.
But yeah, some of the things I come across is while you can have that team structure and you can go to work and carving out client portfolios for the client managers, just as important is, making sure you understand the no bypass policy. So, you can have everything in place, but if you bypass, as the owner of the firm, if you bypass the client managers, either with the clients or with the team members of the client managers, then you just undermine the whole process. So you've got to have a lot of self-discipline, and you've got to be on solid ground that, if there is a client complaint, or if there is a team member that's not particularly happy, you've got to take the client managers on the journey with you. And so if you haven't looked at the no bypass policy, you really make sure that you need to understand that. So you can often ask questions of the clients or the team members, but you can't instruct either party without bringing the client manager back into the loop. Because if you don't do that, you're just going to undermine the whole process, and you'll undermine this team design that you're looking at. And again, I'm talking with firm owners all the time, trying to help them get accountability, get the information flowing right to the right person. So that's just one of the practical things that I see, Tim, that can help people. Yeah. No,
that's great. Ed, have you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just a couple of things but just adding on to what Jamie says. Often owners say to me, I wish my staff would take more accountability and more responsible for their, for their job and their portfolio. And then I see them undermining them. And I say, well, they will if you stop undermining them. And they say to me, no, I'm not undermining. What do you mean I'm not undermining them? And they're undermining them because they're bypassing them. They'll get a job from a client. They'll bypass the senior client manager, and they'll go down to the accountant, one of their staff, and they'll give that job to that accountant and say, look, I need this done quickly. Jack, the client, needs it done in 2 days. So you just bypass the senior client manager. Now, you've asked the senior client manager to take responsibility for the staff and the clients, and then you go and undermine them by bypassing them. So eventually that senior client manager is going to say, well, if you want to manage the staff, you manage them then, and they'll sit back, and then you'll have a paid audience around you. And it's not the fault of the client manager, it's your fault for undermining them. And most people don't know that they're doing this, and they're doing it inadvertently without knowing. And that's just one of the biggest sins that an owner does. And part of the problem is that we've all grown up in production. We've all done the work, and then all of a sudden we've now moved into a management position, and we don't know how to manage. We know how to do the work, and we just want it done quickly. So you just do whatever you think will get it done quickly. So I'll just bypass the manager, go down to this person who's, who's sitting there, and I'll just, bypass them. And you think that you're just doing the right thing by getting the things done, but you actually undermine the whole team and the whole spirit of what's going on. So that's the biggest problem that occurs. The other big problem that I see here is that a senior client manager wants to sit there and do the grinding. Okay, and there's two reasons for this. One is that they enjoy doing the grinding, but at their pay rate, you can't afford for them to sit there and do bookkeeping work or accounting work when they're paid at a consultancy level. And the other reason that they often sit there and do the work is because there's not enough people underneath them to get the work done, or there's no competent people underneath them, or that the resource mix underneath them is not correct, and then it all ends up on their desk. So if you don't get the right senior production manager in there, then the work all ends up at the senior client manager's desk to review and to finish off, and the more they're tied to doing that, the less they're seeing your clients and communicating with them, and you won't get any referrals if you just sit there and do the work. So it's really important you get the right people in the right seat, the right capacity, and also the right resource mix, working with the senior client manager.
No, it's really helpful, Ed. Jamie, thanks for that.